blah. Do the splash page. Hello. Commercial. I got smart. I'm waiting for the commercial to finish.
Oh, okay. It always throws a commercial before we start, right?
Yep. I'm thinking about paying for the service so we don't get it.
How much is it?
I don't know. That's why I'm just thinking about it.
Okay. Hey, my neighbor's selling a boat. $300. It's definitely something to sink. Here's the deal.
Wait a minute. Save that for the podcast, man. Do not forget that. We have to talk about that. Save that. A boat worth sinking.
It's worth sinking.
Oh, come on. Get over with commercial already. With limited commercial interruption. From Del Rio, Texas. Oh, wow. That wasn't right.
I didn't hear it here.
That's the problem. Oop. That was weird. Why is it set to that? From Del Rio, Texas, Rob Wade and Robert Garza. Two guys who dive. This episode of Two Guys Who Dive, recorded Saturday, 28 April 2012, episode 13, What Were You Thinking? And here we are again once a week. I am Rob Wade, and
I'm Robert Garza.
And we have a special guest with us this week. Would you go ahead and introduce yourself to the fine audience out there?
Hello, fine audience out there. I am Nick Van Winkle.
We're glad to have you here.
Good to have you, Nick.
Thank you. Good to be here.
It's good to be had.
Yes.
At least somebody wants to have me.
That's right. Where's a rim shot when you need one? I need to add one of those special effects boxes like you see in a lot of those. You know, they just push a button and it has it all there. There we go. I could do it on my phone, which, by the way...
But it could probably break down, so you might not want to try that.
Yeah, right.
Blue screen of death on the phone, you know.
No.
Wouldn't want the blue screen on you.
No, they don't have that anymore. Oh, well, I take that back. Somebody did create, for nostalgia's sake, they did create an app that all it does is throw up a fake blue screen of death. So if you're feeling lonely and you have a Windows phone, you really want to see a blue screen of death, which will never, ever happen on a Windows phone.
Well, you see, that's why they painted the phone blue. That's why it's that blue color, save you the time.
No, it is awesome. This is seriously, I love this color. Although, now I see, of course, the white one just came out. This is the Lumia 900, by the way, by Nokia. They just came out with the white one, which is... That's selling like hotcakes. But now they've leaked that they're coming out with a magenta one. I'm like,
that's gonna be nice.
I'm like, now I'm jonesing. Okay, so maybe that may be a reason to convince my wife to get just so we can have a magenta one.
Yeah.
But we just so happen to have all three ecosystems represented. So, of course, I'm sporting the Windows phone.
Of course, the Apple phone.
I've got the,
Android.
The creme de la creme Android phone.
Yeah, right. He had to think of the word because he was making it up as he goes. Okay, nice. Awesome. They're going under a lot of investigations right now for monopolizing the business.
Yeah,
So-
I read something about that.
Just
Yeah,
because
it's-
you're the best doesn't mean you're monopolizing.
No, just because you dump things on the market. I'm just kidding. But it is kind of neat that we, just by sheer chance, that was not planned that way, folks, I promise you. But anyway, Nick is here because he is currently going through the basic open water scuba class with me. And so we wanted to have an opportunity to bring him on and kind of ask him some questions, have him ask some questions possibly, and just kind of share generally his experience with the whole scuba diving genre, the sport. So, Nick, this is your first actual day in the water. First impressions?
It's different. You know, it was actually a really good experience. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Lots of things to get over. But, you know,
like your instructor or what?
I like the way he put that.
Once you tell yourself you're not going to die, you know, things become a little bit easier.
Okay, now you've scared our audience and any potential divers.
What have you been doing over there, Robert? I don't go to a training one time and look what happens.
Yeah, which, by the way, we do. I think we have on the podcast from last week. You said you were going to be helping out. What happened?
You know, I went on a bike ride and I got tired, and I fell asleep. So
all day?
Yeah, pretty much. I was actually going to join you for the second half of the dive. I was going to go out to the open water portion of it, but just I was real tired.
Well, we did happen to have a stand-in for you, Jeff Larson.
Oh, he showed up?
Yeah, from our park service here. He's one of the professional divers. Park service, who happened to be one of my students. So, my boy is growing up. No, I'm just really proud of he's been able to take that skill and turn it into, a worthwhile job.
A check.
Yeah, it's a paycheck. In Del Rio, Texas, it works, really. So, see, even in little old Del Rio, Texas, you can find a way to do what you love to do and get paid for it. But you just have to have the intestinal fortitude to actually persevere and do it. So, yeah, we were glad that Jeff showed up. His plan was to enlist our aid in trying to lift the dive chest out there. For those who are who are familiar with diving at Lake Amistad, we have, if you're diving at Scuba Cove, we have 3 main attractions. We have a sunken, yes, count them, 3. 3, ooh, That's the only Sesame Street. Well, that's not my only Sesame Street imitation I'll do. But I did like the count. It was very fun. We have 3 main attractions at Scuba Cove, and, of course, obviously they're all underwater. The first one is what we call the dive chest, and that's what it looks like, some sort of a chest. The thing is heavy. I think it's filled with concrete or a body. It might be Jimmy Hoffa.
It might be several bodies by the weight.
That's true. Although bones do get lighter, so. Anyway, I digress. We have that there, and it's sunk. And it normally, when the lake is at its normal level, it's at about 30 feet of water, give or take a few, and really makes a great anchoring point. We've got an actual permanent buoy or semi-permanent buoy on it, and we use that for securing a line so that we can do like the controlled emergency swimming, ascent exercise, and a number of other exercises there. And generally, it's just something to see, and it's a good starting point for what we call the circuit. If you want to practice your navigation skills at Scuba Cove, you can start there and hit the other 2 main attractions.
That's correct.
So we've got a small boat and a big boat, and they're both sunk. One is the small boat is really dilapidated. The bigger one is actually in pretty solid shape for what's left of the boat itself, but you can run the circuit there. But now what was in 30 feet of water is in 13 feet of water.
Wow.
So the plan was he brought lift bags, or he brought a lift bag. I think he was going to need more than 1 lift bag.
Like 4 or 5.
Yeah,
maybe.
I'm thinking. That thing is just that heavy.
Yeah, it's heavy.
So he was going to bring lift bags, and then we were going to work those, attach those, and try to lift it enough, get it neutrally buoyant,
and move it,
and move it out to closer to 30 feet, so we could actually continue using it.
Right.
Unfortunately, as it turned out, his lift bag had a rip in the seam.
Well, that ain't good.
Yeah.
1 bag is not going to do it. Jeff, I'm sorry. You could put probably about 15 divers on that thing, and it's still not going to live. So,
although from the look of it, this was a pretty big bag.
Really? Okay.
But I don't know how.
Man,
It would
what
take a lot of
shame.
tanks to take a lot of tanks to
fill that baby
thing
with
up.
air. Yeah. Wow. Well, I mean, that would be great if we'd be able to move it deeper into the water, because 13 feet is just not gonna do it.
No, you feel like you just sneezed and you're down there.
I was actually gonna say, did you trip on it on the way down to the dock? The water's so low now,
and it's actually lower even still than last
that's
week.
a shame.
It's bad.
That's a shame.
Yeah. So anyway, he was out there and he was just kind of tagging along and following us. He kind of jokingly and semi-seriously, we had started out. Sarah, Nick's girlfriend, was there as well. She was one of my students, and so it was good to have her along. She hadn't been diving for a while, so it was a good opportunity for her to kind of be in a supervised situation, just kind of get her, do a skills check. So the three of us started off on the first dive, and then at some point along the way, I looked back, and there's a fourth diver, and there he was, and he said, "Well, first I looked for the bubbles, and then all I had to do was look for the trail."
Okay,
I was like, "Okay, that's just mean."
I know,
True,
right?
true, but mean.
You were kicking up that much wake. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
It was Robert, right? It was Rob. We
Yeah,
know
right.
it was Rob.
You're right. Mr. Dive Inverted was going to kick up a lot of wake. Yeah. No, for those who are not familiar with the diving, and when we talk about kicking up a trail or something like that, divers who are new or just have refused to learn the whole buoyancy control thing.
Inexperienced.
Yeah. Well, I've seen some quote unquote experienced divers who just still haven't gotten how to trim yourself out where your feet aren't dragging the whole time. So what that means is you're kicking close to the bottom, and if there's a silty or dirty bottom, it will kick up the silt, and so you have this cloudy trail behind you. It's just one of the badge of courage, I'm learning how to dive, and it's just you get the buoyancy down, and pretty soon you get to a point, hopefully, where you stop doing that. But it was just, he was making a point, because he is a very experienced diver now, super certified, that he was able to track us down by our trail. So it's don't take it personally, Nick. Every diver goes through that. Even the best students I've ever had that seem to get the buoyancy control down, they're still judging. They don't understand how your fins create a vortex behind it, which is why different fins are designed the way they are, so that you can minimize that. Well, of course, there's a downside to minimizing the vortex that you create that could kick up silt. It also may change the performance and your ability to swim in heavy current or have a relaxed dive where you're not exerting so much energy by the kick. So don't take it personal, but it was just kind of funny.
It was.
how you found it.
I'll own up to that. Hey.
Okay, so why don't you share your experiences in the pool and experience with the first couple of your open water dives?
Yeah, well, you started out with a pretty broad statement, after getting over the fear of dying.
I need to be redeemed here now, because I have potential students out there that are like running for the hills.
All right, it wasn't my instructor that made me fear for death. It was, when you get there, you've got all this gear on, and you're like, okay, this is my safety net. I know that nothing is going to happen. Then all of a sudden you go underwater and your whole mindset changes. And you're like, oh, holy crap, I'm underwater and I got to breathe. So your mind starts going into a different mode. Really.
Yep.
So that's that mental hurdle I had to get over. That whole I'm not going to die because I can actually breathe. I've got a breathing apparatus in my mouth. There were a couple times where I just sort of panicked and just went up to the surface. And
Which, if you're going to do that, the pool is the best place to have that
course,
happen. 60 feet is not a good place to be thinking, I got to bail.
And when I got up there, your question to me was, why'd you come up? And I'm like, well, because this was wrong. And you're like, but you were able to breathe. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The trick there that I try to use, I use the trick, the mechanism that I try to use is to get you to analyze what motivated you to do something. Sometimes parents try this with kids. Unfortunately, it usually never works because they never pursue it. When you say, so why did you do that? I don't know. And then they let it drop. Well, no, I don't let it drop. And it's not that I'm badgering somebody, a little kid or an adult. I'm trying to say, think about what drove you to do this thing. We have late breaking news. Oh, okay.
We're being flagged by the producer. Hold on. Oh no, we're not. Excuse that. Sorry. Rewind.
All right,
Stop.
she's telling us to keep going. All right,
Okay.
stall.
Stall. Okay, we do have a message.
Nice.
All right.
And then after that, after the whole, I can actually breathe underwater thing, it started getting a little bit easier. The different things I had to do, and realizing, hey, I don't need to shoot up. It's shoot up.
You might want to change a different. We do not do drugs.
It's one of those shows.
We do not do drugs or.
Where's that sound effect thing?
No kidding. Or condone the use of mind-altering substances. Diving is a mind-altering substance all by itself.
Just say no. Okay.
Giving somebody ideas. Can I really shoot up underwater?
No, can you? That creates just a weird imagery of just an invitation of danger. For those who might be trying to get into the chat room to Ustream and have forgotten your password, there should be a I forgot my password link somewhere at the Ustream TV site, so you can click on that to.
I'm sorry, I had to.
You have to excuse Scuba Bob while he recreates over here.
All right.
So after that panic, after I realized that if I'm panicking, I don't need to shoot up from the water and get to the surface, realize just calm down,
right?
Breathe, fix whatever the issue is. I started being able to more easily accomplish these things, such as clearing my mask, or even looking for my my second stage as I was having to swap. Or when we were taking it out and then reaching around, because I was having a little bit of trouble finding it at first. Just realizing that I've got that backup, I've got a safety net, I've got my my alternate right there next to me that I can use if I'm struggling finding my primary. So I don't need to freak out, splash around like somebody drowning and go to the surface. I can just grab it and put it in, and I'm good to go, and then just try it again.
So, as far as the pool work, do you feel it was a good pace? And you don't have to say something just to make me look good or feel good.
It was an absolutely phenomenal pace. It was
the checks in the mail. No, but did you feel that it was paced too slowly or too fast? Do you feel like you were rushed through some things, or do you feel that it met your comfort zone?
I feel it met my comfort zone, and there was even one instance where I believe it was the full face, like removing your mask and then putting it back on underwater. I did it once and gave the okay, and then you were starting to move on, but I was like, hey, I want to do it again.
Yeah.
So, I didn't feel totally comfortable with it the first time, so I told you I wanted to do it again. So, even when I wasn't ready to move on, I stopped you, and you allowed me to. So that's... it was at a good pace. And
you looked comfortable with it, which is one of the key things that we look for is, do you look like a deer in headlight when you're doing something, or you're fumbling through it, or is it something you move through methodically? And you did, but that's the first time I've actually had a student say, can I do it one more time? I'm usually asking them to do it one more time, but you're the first person who's ever asked to do it. And I'm glad you did, because that made you nail the comfort zone.
When it comes to something like it, for me especially, it's the mask clearing when I'm underwater. You start to develop something just clicks, and you start to develop your own, like, whatever works.
Right.
So when I did it the first time, I got it. I wanted to do it again to make sure that what I did that time wasn't just a fluke, or make sure it was like whatever I had figured out was actually going to work repetitive.
Yeah.
Repetitive times.
Of course, I told you you're going to get to do this stuff a number of times, both in the pool and the open water, but it's all about repetition. Right. So as many times as you want to do something, and I always encourage every student I certify, you've got these skill sets. but they're still new to you. Even though you've done them many times throughout the course, they're still new to you. So go out on your next dives as a certified diver and still continue to practice those things. Because, and we've had this discussion before, the skills that you practice regularly are the ones that are going to be there when things go wrong and you need, oh, what was I supposed to do with this? How do I handle that? Because, you know, any time, doesn't matter whether you're the newest diver, the most experienced diver, things can go wrong. And, you know, we've had that talk before too, you know, run into something that just, okay.
Yeah, I think I can attest to that. I've been through some situations that I think all of the skill sets that you're learning or will be completing, you know, this weekend, I sometimes, based on who we dive with, I use them. I use them a lot, especially the mask clearing.
How's this? Have a fin in your face. How does that sound?
Well, I've had a fin in my face. I've gotten my mask kicked down to my neck. I've had a finger in my face.
I'm gonna kick you. I'm gonna kick your mask to your neck.
Not only did they kick my mask down, they actually try to rip my eyeball out of my face underwater.
That's nice of them.
Yeah, and all of these things are things that Rob, I don't know if she's mentioned it, but when you start playing around with your hands a lot, the idea here is to try to become comfortable to where you're neutrally buoyant and you know you're enjoying yourself. You're just kind of coasting along. You'll find a lot of people at the beginning, they're kind of weighing their hands because they think they're swimming.
That's what
Yeah, and you know sometimes somebody might be next to you and stuff, and then your hand will actually, you're that close to where, you know, you get the mask ripped out of your face or the regulator. I've actually had that as well. The regulator kicked out and everything.
It all happens at once. It happened so fast I wasn't prepared. Yeah, the thing he's talking about is called sculling. I don't know, not sure why they call it sculling. When I hear the word sculling, I'm thinking somebody's punching me in the head. You know, but that and you see typical swimmers do this. And new divers, you see a lot of this because that's the natural way they think of for controlling direction in a 3D environment. But what we try to get students to get more comfortable with, you know, with things like the hover, things like they get for working your neutral buoyancy, is to be able to do everything with just your fins, because that is your primary mode of movement through the water. It's also your most dangerous appendage, if you will, in the water, because you have these fins that extend your body length, you know, several inches, if not a couple of feet, and so you can smack things and not even realize it. It's like having really long fingernails. You know, it's like, oh, let me caress you. Oh, I just poked you in the eye. You know, it's dangerous. So getting used to controlling that movement and letting your hands be dormant for the most part, unless you're intentionally going to grab for something. So, and I noticed one of the things that you were kind of just learning to deal with, because it is so new, is orientation in the water.
Yes.
That's a tough one always, especially if you're not able to get trimmed out in the weight properly. When you stop movement, different parts of your body, especially with the gear that you have on, can create a weighting problem that suddenly I was just sitting there minding my own business and suddenly I was upside down, you know. Oh. And you see that, you know, you dealt with I keep leaning to one side or the other, and that's all natural. And getting to a point where you're okay with that happening and not forcing yourself to scull because I must be in the upright and locked position.
You know, one of the the things that I've noticed when I'm in the water is if I'm not moving and I'm naturally buoyant, my feet tend to drop because I don't know, for some reason I have heavy feet, and I'll be perfectly standing up in the water.
In the pool, when we were doing the pool work, my feet were doing that. They were going up, or my feet were going. My feet were going up, so I was going head down. And after a while, I had to tell myself I can still breathe even though I'm upside down. Yeah. But then when we got into the open water, I had the opposite problem. My feet were going down.
Yeah, mine go down for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it's my fin. They're too heavy or something.
Mine definitely are. I've got the Tusa split fins, which are great for most types of diving. They just, I use so little effort with those fins, but they're so darn heavy because the side walls for the main parts of the fin are thick, and so then they're a little bit oversized for my foot because I'm wearing them with these monster 5mm boots with heavy soles on them, which make it comfortable for walking on rocks before you get in the water. But of course, it adds another size and a half to my shoe, which still are tiny compared to everybody else. You know,
it's a 3.
Yeah, I go from a 7 now to like what looks like an 8.5, and I'm still on these little pixie stick feet, you know, compared to other people.
Now I don't know. I don't know why that is, but my feet tend to drop down, and I'll be standing straight up, you know, in the water, and I don't know.
And that's where, you know, learning about trim weights. If you continue to have an issue with your feet floating up and your head floating down, you try to shift some of that weight down. You know, the BCs are designed with removable. If you get a weight integrated setup, they're designed with the weight pouches, you know, right at your waist. And then also you've got some, most BCs, you've got a set that are around the tank, which may be a little higher or lower still than where your pouches are. So if you could shift some of the weight there, it may throw some of your weight back. But if it's still a dramatic difference from your shoulders to your ankles, they do make little neoprene-based Velcro type weight straps that you can put on your ankles to help weigh you down and give you a more even keel, as they say. Wait, I see you laughing.
No, I was thinking about something, but I won't say.
This is a family show.
He's still on that shooting up.
No, actually, it's not even that. It's not even a bad thing. But I'm trying to think about how you could actually pull that off in the water. I'll have to talk to you about that. It'll help you actually stay level.
Right.
But it may be dangerous, so we'll have to talk about that later.
Oh, no. Put some in your shoe. There you go.
Yeah, right.
And I have seen people put rocks. I lost a weight. I'm sticking rocks in my BC. Oh,
Who did that?
Was it Dominic? It was somebody that we went diving with.
It was. It was rocks.
It was rocks.
It was rocks. They filled their BC pockets with rocks.
It was somebody that we haven't been diving with in a while.
Yeah, and you wonder why we haven't been diving with that person for a while.
Yeah.
There were rocks. Wasn't it Tom?
Oh,
he forgot. I think he forgot his weights.
It might be right.
I think he put rocks. If
it wasn't him, I'll be getting a text here later saying, no.
No, it wasn't me. You know, hey, Tom, how you doing? I'm not picking on you, but it was someone, and yeah, they have forgotten their weights, and they decided, you know, there's some rocks right there on the floor, so let's just pick them up and fill them up.
Which, I'm sorry, unless it's like a special granite or something, the size of rocks you need to equal the amount of lead that you carry just would be monstrous. You'd have to have a really big BC.
Yeah. Well, we did, and that is a true story. I just don't know who it is, and I'm sorry to put Tom out there like that, but it was someone we haven't dove with in a long time. But yeah, they did have rocks in there.
Speaking of weights, I have to share this with you. That was kind of a surprise. Two of the places that I order my gear through. One of them is leisurepro.com, and the other one is diverssupply.com, and divers-supply.com. I get a really good discount with them as an instructor, etc. But I, amongst ordering all dive materials, class materials, things like that, I've been that I've had a problem with the Modis BC that I have with the weight pouches in it.
Yes, yeah,
I have the thing you need to know about when you're diving or when you're picking out your equipment is you need to pick something that fits you. Now, most of these good websites have a sizing chart, which is important, and they take it based on, like, if you're sizing for the BC, it's your chest size, waist, how tall are you, that kind of thing. So the BC you wear that you choose with one manufacturer may be a different size than what you pick from another manufacturer. For my, what are you doing over there? He's playing with the equipment. The Genesis Phantom BC that I have is a medium, but the Modis MRS system BC that I have, it happens to be a small. And the pouches that it uses are actually the same design as far as the connector, the latching system, as a number of their other models, and certainly for their mediums and large and extra large BCs. But the problem was the design of the pouch for the small, the body was, the depth of the pouch was like really small, and it was only designed to hold X number of pounds. Whereas the ones for the medium and the large were much longer. So they wrapped around you much deeper towards the back. The problem that I had was that the pocket area where the pouches go into was so large that the pouch, when it had weight in it, you're diving like this, the pouches would literally flip inside out because the connector was towards the front of the pouch. So, you'd have the pouch in there, and all of a sudden it would flip out past the where the latch was. So I'd come up and I'd look like I had Audis.
I actually thought you had hand warmers in your BC. I tell you, you just put your little hands in there, and my hands cold.
So
I'm just gonna go ahead and put them in there.
My hands is cold. My hands is cold. I have to get warm up. I shouldn't be in my 5 minutes. I should be in my 7.
Yeah.
But it was bad.
We did a dive for the city of Del Rio. I don't know if you kind of know about that, Nick, but we
he is a watcher of our podcast.
Okay, great. Well, we helped the city out, and we actually had to use every single weight that we had.
Yeah.
Just to stay underwater. The water pressure coming up out of the spring was so strong that we had to overweight ourselves. And then when we were getting out of the water, it was murder. I mean, it was I couldn't even carry my BC. It was so horrible.
Yeah.
I had to take it off. You actually walked up the stairs with yours. I was quite impressed.
Don't you know, my thighs were so sore after that.
My fins, I hadn't seen them until I was getting my gear ready. I looked at the bottom of my fins, and it looked like I took a razor blade to them. The rocks were so sharp.
That just shows you the power of water.
Razor sharp, and
razor sharp were the blades of the rocks that were made by the power of the water.
It was the incisors.
Those outrageous incisors.
Well,
those were sharp.
It was a lot of fun. I didn't enjoy having to go to the hospital, though. That was kind of...
If the spring was an ice cold, bud, would you drink it?
I actually did drink the water.
It's not rocket science.
I did actually...
Just answer the question yes, and we'll move on.
Okay, well, I said yes, and I drank some of the water, and it was actually quite good. It had a little iron taste to it, maybe because of all the tools at the bottom of the spring.
Yeah, that's right. It was high in iron.
It was a higher in
There
iron.
were some monster tools down there.
There were.
Boy, have we migrated way off the target topic or what?
Anyway,
Back to you, Chet.
I had to get a tetanus shot. I got cut by a can down there.
That's what you're going to get. Saying I got stung by a can.
I got stung by a can down there. I had to get a tetanus shot.
Or those little pinchers. It's outrageous sizers.
I was there at the hospital at the emergency room, and they were quite fast. I gotta honestly say, when they gave me the shot, they were like, "Well, we're gonna have to monitor you here for about 15, 20 minutes. Make sure you don't have a reaction to it." I started twitching.
You throw them into panic. They're like, "What?"
Well, I started twitching a little, and I was playing, but the nurse started kind of like looking at me like freaking out a little bit. She was like, "Are you having a reaction?" I said, "Yeah, I'm hungry.
Have some food.
I need some food.
I need some sustenance."
You have no idea. What was supposed to be a quick little dive took us How many hours? 6 hours?
Yeah, it was all day.
It was an all-day thing. Anyway,
Wow.
so back to your training, Nick. I'm sorry.
It's
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
He got sidetracked there.
Wow.
I watch the podcasts. I'm used to the tangents.
But they're fun tangents.
They are.
They are fun tangents.
Just jump in anytime, Nick.
If somewhat unique to local, but okay. So the pool work, you were satisfied with that. So then we took, you did the lunch break and fell asleep.
Almost.
Almost.
Yes.
So we get out to the lake and you did your watermanship stuff, which was good. You did that with no issues. So then came your first open water dive, which of course, no task loading. It's basically some quick buoyancy check and then just get you in the new environment with your new skills. So what were your expectations as far as your first dive in Lake Amistad?
It actually exceeded my expectations. I didn't expect to be
Really?
Well, see, no, because
I was about to say the same thing.
Have you
no, because I'm used to,
I'm used to skiing. I don't know from fish.
No, I mean, I've lived here for a while. I know what the water is like in Amistad, so I didn't expect. I didn't expect to be able to see as much as we did. I thought it was going to be a little bit murkier than that. So that's where it exceeded my expectation. Like
You did luck out. The visibility was pretty good.
So that's where my expectation was. I wasn't expecting to be able to see as far as we did. But you pretty much laid out what it was going to be. It was just going to be a quick little, drive-by underwater. And just get used to
drive-by.
No, we're talking about drugs. Now we're doing drive-bys.
Yeah, it was really amazing, man. This low-rated catfish came by.
No. Okay, now we're shooting up. Now we're doing drive-bys. What exactly did you do underwater, Robert?
It was a drive-by catfish.
I'll tell you.
It was a drive-by catfish, okay?
If anything, I could just blame nitrogen narcosis. So that's what I was looking at.
I could just see that kind of an answer on a questionnaire. So, what got you into diving? I wanted to get narked.
I want a narc.
I wanted to legally get high.
Yeah, they took all my prescription medicine away. They took away my toothpaste. They took away, what is the new thing they're doing now? Hand sanitizer. They took away my hand sanitizers. The only way I could get a little buzz is to go get narked.
I need to go get narked. It's a natural chemical reaction that the body does. It's perfect. It's legal.
It's part of diving.
It's part of diving. Robert got narked one time.
But it was like this. I immediately recognized it and I fixed it.
He's like this and he starts zooming out and then he snaps.
I'm like, I know this.
He's like scared me.
I know this.
He's like scared me. I was like,
okay.
you all right?
I'm
like a mini convulsion.
Gotta go up.
Oh, but we were deep though. That was crazy.
We were right at the limits. Right at the recreational limit.
Yeah.
So you had your drive-by. You had your drive-by. Okay, so yes, I have to admit, that's just out of control.
Visibility.
Was it ever in control? So you had it was a run by fruiting. I saw the whole thing. So exceeding your expectations. Were you expecting to see exactly the amount of fish that you saw, or more or less?
The little fish that we saw, I was kind of expecting that. But, when we came up to, there were several times where we saw like some pretty good-sized bass.
Yep.
I wasn't really expecting those. And if we did, I wasn't expecting them to just sort of
hang around,
hang out. Like at the same time we were hanging out, I expected them to just sort of like, oh crap, people, and run.
And generally that's the case, but it's spawning season, so what we saw was a number of them either hanging around the nest, or we ran into a couple of little clouds of fries. I mean, the little tiny hatchlings. I mean, just clouds of them. And that just kind of brings up a point about why it's important to be very observant while you're diving. Even in a lake, you never know what you're going to run across, and you have to be observant and not be in a hurry to get somewhere. Go slow. And look for something that stands out like that. And, I got erased attention. I was like, look. And then we ran across, of course, a number of bass, but we ran across towards the end of the last dive. We ran across a couple of good-sized ones. They must have been a pair, and they were just hanging out. They were like on guard. We're coming up on them, and they're like, come on, I dare you. I dare you. Go past us. Come on. Come on. Bring it. I mean, they just kind of hung there, looking, giving us the evil eye. It was pretty cool. Okay, so now second dive, we had to task load you.
Yeah.
So, and of course, it was nothing new compared to what you had in the pool. But did it feel different to you? Did you find being in the open water in a different environment became more of a distraction, or did it make you focus more? What was that experience for you, taking the skills from the pool to the open water?
Quite honestly, it didn't feel any different to me whatsoever.
Oh, good.
It just,
Good.
it felt like I was in water. I was in water.
Well, that's
the first
good
time,
because
I
you
was in
were.
water the second time.
It felt like I was in water. I cannot explain it. There was the stuff in front of my mask and the bubbles. It was like water.
Yeah, so it was the same exact. It was the same exact feeling, same exact experience, and it was only easier the second time because I had that experience the first time, and
good.
developed my method of clearing my mask and realizing, how to do these various things. The
Mental
thing-
processes
yeah,
that go into that.
What
yeah.
was harder for me in the lake was doing the swapping between your snorkel and your primary.
Oh, we have little waves and stuff like that.
Well, I think it was the distance I had to swim that phased me, and the fact that because the lake is not Bahama clear,
Right.
I got lost a couple times. I had to poke my head up, figure out where you were or where the dock was, so I could
Wait till
keep myself
tomorrow when the
straight.
navigation piece comes into play.
You're lucky though, because hopefully the visibility will stay the same, and you'll be able to see, remember certain rocks and things like that, which can definitely help your navigation. But when we did it, it was pitch black. I mean, I couldn't do anything. I solely relied on my compass to get me, to and from where I needed to go. And then, of course, one of the more challenging navigational skills that I got was when we did my advanced, and then even more so during the rescue diver training. The search patterns that you got to do with that one, that one's pretty interesting to say the least. But
Interesting. Define interesting. Oh God, we're all going to die.
I'll define interesting as complicated. Okay.
But you did really well with it.
Well, thanks.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have passed you. But
Exactly. I know he was being very meticulous. Like, no, you gotta go around in circles.
You must chase your tail. Click your fins 3 times. Let's say there's no place
Make
like
a
home.
complete circle, and then you go out 4 feet, and then you go around again, and you go out another 4 feet, and you go out again until you find a dead body.
Probably from the drive-by.
Yeah, that was the result. Yeah.
It was too many drive-bys.
However, I did find a little kid-sized mask that ended up given to. Now, was that Sarah's?
That was Sarah's
sister?
niece.
Okay. So, because her dad and niece showed up towards the end there, we popped up and hello. So she got a free mask. So you never know what you might find out at Lake Amistad. We have found all manner of things.
Mm-hmm.
Big umbrellas for like the big deck tables, the lawn chairs,
Barbecue pits,
yes.
Yeah, a few of those.
Lots of orange cones.
Yeah.
Especially under the bridge, the Highway 90 bridge.
Actually, that's where one of my very first dives with Robert, we were diving under the bridge there in Governor's Landing, and we found a lawn chair that was like if somebody had left it in the waters, just perfectly set up. So I look at it, and I was gonna think about doing it, but he beat me to it. I was gonna actually kind of hover over it and just kind of sit down on it, but I just see him coming over me, and he beat me to the chair. It's like God, it's very,
I beat you to the chair.
he beat me to the
I
chair.
beat you to the punch.
He came up real cool and just sat down, and then he extended his arms out like if he was relaxing. If I had had a camera, I so would have taken a picture of that. It looked so cool.
All I needed was one of the bottles of beer bottles of beer there under the wall.
And we had plenty of those
Yeah,
too.
no kidding. Golf balls. Lots of golf balls too.
Yeah, there was a lot of golf balls in the spring.
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, because it's right there by the
golf course.
San
It's in the
Felipe.
golf course.
Yeah.
That was so cool. Remember when I hit that little golf ball and I just it just
Because the
floated?
water pressure was so strong, it was like it would float.
I got a golf ball and I just put it like that in there and it just stayed there floating and it was spinning.
It was so cool.
Nice.
It
There's
was
the little
cool.
divots in there.
Yeah, the
they
little
create
divots
that.
were spinning.
It was neat. So, second dive, we did a lot of task loading, and which you did well with, especially the mass clearing stuff. No issues there. So, up to this point, you're almost done. Do you recommend the sport to everybody? Are there any cautionary tales that you'd like to suggest for folks who might be interested?
Yeah, I would recommend it. It's very fun. It's very relaxing. I mean, you know,
Once you get over the pain,
once you get over the panic of, you know,
I'm not gonna die.
dying, it's very relaxing. It's sort of a downfall, you know, that you can't talk to your buddies with you. Like, hey, check
For
that out.
$1,000, you can.
Well, you know, I don't exactly have $1,000. Maybe my ex-wife does.
It would be
It
your
would be my
$1,000.
But no, I can't talk to people, but that's what the hand signals are for. I would definitely recommend it. And any cautionary tales, I guess the biggest cautionary thing I have is, you know, if you're going down to Scuba Cove, be prepared for a hike, because that sucked. That was like the worst part of the whole thing.
Yeah, even for me, who I pride myself in being in pretty good shape, I have to admit that I was like, it was like that, like those typical movies where you're trying to run away from something that's chasing you, and you're going down this hallway that seems to get longer and longer. I'm like, I can't reach the rail. Please, the sharks are after me. It was like crazy.
That's how it felt when I was swimming out to that buoy. I was like, hey, that's not very... I can make that swim, no problem. I started going out there, and I'm like, man, I'm tired. Am I close? What? It was that far away when I started.
And I got a little worried at first because you started pulling to port there, which, you know, that's typical. One leg is stronger than the other. So if you're not paying attention, you will typically kick to one side. So I was watching. I was like, he's going to way miss the mark, and he's going to... I had somebody that was so far off the mark. I mean, they easily swam the equivalent of 1.5 the distance because they went so far off. And I'm like yelling at them, "Go to the right, go to the." So they're like pulled way over, and then they swam back over, and they hit their mark, and then they came back. I'm like, golly, you just did a triangle.
Maybe you can mark it off for the
There we
advance.
go. Yeah, no kidding.
The advance.
I'm going to do a triangle today. So, all right. Well, I'm glad you had a good experience so far. We just got 2 dives left to finish you up tomorrow. We'll be doing, of course, the navigation. The first one will be the on-surface navigation. And I will tell you right now, most people seem to have a harder time with the navigating on the surface than they do underwater. Not sure why that is.
Probably visual cues that are easily recognizable on the surface.
Well, at first I would have thought that, but since you're supposed to be looking down, you're not supposed to be looking up at all. You're only supposed to be looking at your compass. I would have thought that underwater, without any other sensory input, your mind would manufacture things to make you think you're doing something different than what you really are. There are suspended particles in the water. So even as you're underwater looking at your compass and you're out in basically the middle of the green, you're seeing these particles move by, which gives you a pseudo signal of what your movement is like, because you see these things moving by. The stuff that's suspended in the water is moving by. So your mind is going to manufacture, I'm pulling to the left or I'm pulling to the right, and you will find yourself typically in the underwater portion trying to compensate for that. And you'll stop trusting your gauges. You'll stop trusting your compass. So I caution you now, trust your compass. Once you've set your heading, make as much effort as you can to stay on the compass. It's the same for pilots. You know, they have to get to a point in order to get instrument rated. They have to get to a point where, against everything that their mind is telling them, everything that they see outside the cockpit, that their gauges, all their instruments are telling them true. Now, sometimes they aren't telling them true, and that's where we see some of these great disasters. But generally speaking, your instruments they're not fooled by what your mind is fooled by. So trust what your gear is saying.
Yeah, one of the advices that I would give you is make sure that you secure your gear, especially the compass. Like one of the biggest problems that I've seen is if you're holding it in our hand, it tends to turn sideways, or you may not hold it straight, and that's going to throw off your direction. Get it and put it in somewhere to where it's not going to move, and trust me, it'll get you there and straight back.
Yep.
It's just getting used to keeping it close to you, and so it doesn't move around. One of the biggest things I've seen is just that they'll hold it in one hand, and it's actually not straight to begin with.
Right.
You know, so then you're looking around, and then you look back down, and you've actually already turned it. So then you start positioning yourself to get it back on, and you're already turning off. You're already off course. So
Yep.
yeah,
That's true. Then, of course, the controlled emergency swimming ascent. So we'll have to make sure we get that set up. Yeah.
It's only 13 feet.
No, we'll have to do something alternate for that. But yeah, that's going to be an important skill, and that's a skill I'm sorry to say that people probably practice 0 times after they get certified. But it really is an important one to practice, because even if your intention is to stick close enough to your buddy that if you have an equipment failure and need air, with the intention of being close enough that you can get to them to do the hand signals and get the air from them, they may not have the same intention. So they may be off in their own little world and totally not paying attention to you, and one glance from you looking at another attraction underwater, and you look back and suddenly they're way away from you. So having the controlled emergency swimming ascent skill is really important. One of the pieces of equipment that we like to use, that some divers like to use, is called spare air. There are others who just hate it, and they think it's just a license to die.
Chris Mendoza.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I was surprised. I really was surprised to hear his comments about that. He had a valid point. You had a valid point. It's not gonna, you don't plan on doing a whole dive with it, but it'll definitely get you to the surface.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can do, and I've practiced with it, and like every other skill, like every other piece of equipment, if you practice with it, that's going to be there. I take my spare air. It's a 3 cubic foot one. I take my spare air out with me, and I practice using it in a number of different situations. I try to manufacture scenarios where I need to jump to that. And if a controlled emergency swimming ascent, which is designed to be used from 30 feet or shallower, well, what if I'm at 60 feet? That means, and I can't, and somehow I can't get to my buddy. Well, what do I do? Or my buddy's incapacitated and it's just me now. What do I do? If I have a spare air, I can stage my controlled emergency swimming ascents and get to the surface. I've done it. I've done it from 90 feet. So with a 3 cubic foot bottle. So if you have an intent to use it a certain way and don't treat it like it's a replacement for your current gear, any safety equipment that you bring and you practice with will help you. It's to me, it's ridiculous for somebody to just totally minimalize the value of something like spare air or any other safety device. If you know how to use it, you practice the scenarios that you're going to use it with, and you know that you don't use it outside that particular intended purpose. It's perfectly good. one of the divers I dive with, one of my former students, he finally broke down and got a signal sausage, or what we call it, inflatable signal tube. He was he was kind of disappointed though, because he said, I said, well, what's I said, what size did you get? He said, well, I thought it was getting something larger. It was only a 4 foot. I said, well, at Lake Amistad, that'll do you pretty good. I said, but they do make them.
No comment.
I knew it was going to go bad.
So what you're saying is your sausage is longer?
Stop. No, it's buyer beware. Buyer beware. Know what you're ordering. As a safety device, what we call the signal sausage, because there's no other way to describe it. It's a valuable piece of equipment. And
when used properly. In the water.
But it's rolled up. You can strap it to your BC, and it's designed to where you can. Some of them actually come with a power inflator, so you actually connect it to your BC, and you can actually inflate that way. Most of them, the less expensive ones, are simply, oral inflate. Oral inflation. This is
just you gotta blow on the sausage in order to get it to extend.
This is a family show.
Not anymore.
It's a family. We need to edit that part out. But it's important. But
all right, enough.
They make them in different colors and different sizes. It's out of control.
I got something in my eye, Robert.
Yeah. Stop. But for some reason, and I thought all of them had the diver down or diver below or something like that marked in big letters, so that you could see that. For some reason, his didn't come with anything on it. It was just the tube, and I'm like, well, that's kind of lame. He said, so I wrote my own on there. So he took a magic marker and there's like little letters. I'm like, maybe could have used bigger letters on that. We think you're in trouble, but we need to get closer to see. What does it say? Have a nice day. What? Yeah, thanks for all the fish. But I said maybe getting one of the thicker magic markers to make big letters on there would have been better. But so, having said all that and gone way off the reservation. It's important for you, and any device that you buy, primary equipment or safety equipment, look at the specifications. If they don't give you good specifications for the device, call the company that you're buying this from and ask the questions, because you want to make sure that you're not going to be disappointed or kind of led astray because of poor information or lack of information. The two sites that I frequently go to, Leisure Pro and Diver Supply, they actually have reviews for a lot of the products. And so I encourage you, before you click buy, check out the reviews too, because you'll see comments all over the spectrum, but more often than not, most of the comments will be the consistent description of how well people like that particular product.
One of the things that my mind went blank. Anyway, one of the things that I tend to do is if there's any kind of information out there, I tend to hit the web to try to get as much information as I can. We talked about the fact that I started riding bikes a lot.
Right.
So now it's kind of like I've been spending a lot of my time looking at different parts of bikes. It's like anything else. If you scuba dive and you're real passionate about it, make sure you try to find out as much information as you can on the subject. There's a lot of things, of course, there's pros and cons, because people, some things that you may like is something that I may not like, or what works for, Nick may not work for me.
Yeah.
You have to find that your own little niche and kind of go from there. But the two sites that Rob mentioned are extremely informational. There's the comments on the reviews are pretty good. Again, Some may like it, some may not. Actually, one of the items that I currently use is my dive light, and I talked about it a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
It got mixed reviews. The light is heavy, and I'm not gonna lie that, and that's one of the things it always says it is. But the light tends to work really great. I mean, it gets really bad reviews, but you know, for me, it works perfect. Aside from it uses 8D size battery, so it is heavy.
Yeah. Yep. Speaking of that, I think it's my turn this
Commercial
week
day.
for it's my time for the commercial. So, without any further ado, I'd like to talk about SEACURE custom mouthpieces. My wife and I both use these. They're made of the same material that mouth guards, those kinds of things. Scuba Bob is totally losing it over here. They're made of the same material. So the beauty of those are you can replace the standard mouthpiece that comes on most regulators. Some of them will come with what they call, these are perfectly fitted and they're more comfortable and they give you a more relaxed jaw, etc. But I'm sorry, there's nothing better than a mouthpiece that actually is molded to your dental work. So SEACURE figured out a way to design these mouthpieces where, using the same technology, you boil water, you dip these in the water, and then you bite into them, and they conform to your dental work. And then you can trim them however you need to, and then you attach those the same way you would any other mouthpiece to your regulator. And let me tell you, my wife and I both use these and really relieved the jaw fatigue that you can often get. As a matter of fact, I think Nick, you mentioned that at one point you were kind of getting tired of just really biting into the mouthpiece. You know, aside from the fact that just the sheer I'm breathing underwater creates that effect. But you'd be amazed how even divers have been diving for years. They just, I love diving, but my jaw gets so tired. It's because they haven't found a mouthpiece that really works comfortably for them. So I recommend SEACURE mouthpieces, customized mouthpieces. And as you can see, now they come in an assortment of colors. You get clear, bright blue, ninja black, and pretty in pink. Which I'm sure now my wife, if she's watching, is going to be like, I want one of those, because she's seriously sporting the pink gear. So I'm sure she's going to be happy to get one of those. Potential birthday or Christmas present. So I recommend SEACURE mouthpieces. They're a little pricey, typically in the $30 range, but what kind of price can you put on comfort?
Very well. I do have a question about that, though. Before you get one of these, make sure you see your dentist, because once you bite into that thing, it's going to mold to your teeth. And then if you go see your dentist and get a tooth, let's just say you need a bridge, then what are you going to do?
Funny you should say that. Thanks for that.
Okay.
Thanks for that, feeder. It just so happens, just like mouth guards, you can remove them from your regulator and re-dip them in boiling water and then bite back into them, and they'll shape to your new dental work.
Very well. Very good. There you go. See?
We work together. We're a good team. So, all right. Well, we're actually running a little over, which is pretty typical for us because we own the show.
Exactly.
We can do what we want. So, Nick, any further comments, questions, thoughts you want to share with folks?
Well, if you're going to get into diving, don't do like I did. I actually waited till, not necessarily as a last minute, but almost last minute to buy gear.
Sure to say, don't do like I did and hook up with scuba doggies. You'll put the fear of death in you.
No, see, I bought this gear and about half of it fits. I got these. My wetsuit fits pretty well. I bought the goggles, and when I tried the goggles were fairly decent when I'm right there at the top of the water or whatever. But after a while, after an hour and a half of diving, you start feeling on the bridge of your nose and like on the side of your face, like ow, that hurts. So, make sure you get this stuff ahead of time. I mean, my boots are too big. My fins were too small. So make sure that you get them ahead of time.
These boots were just right.
So that if necessary, you can contact, in my case, Leisure Pro, send them back, and they will just send you a new one as long as you haven't used them.
Leisure Pro definitely takes care of customers.
Yeah, they got an awesome customer service.
They do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Other than that, the only other thing is if you're going to do scuba diving, when you first put on the gear, get a grip of where everything is and make a reference. Because as I found out today, the bottom of your snorkel does not make a good pressure release
That
valve.
is absolutely true.
I'm trying to go up in the water, and button's not doing anything because I was using my snorkel.
The two most common little habits that people have, students have, that they have to break themselves of, is either going for the snorkel as if it were their power inflator, or going for it as if it was their regulator. And there's a reason why your snorkel is on your left and your regulator is on your right, so you can kind of separate the two. But because of depending on how your configuration is and the type of snorkel that you have, that thing is kind of got the same feel,
And they're right next
to each other based on the way you're in the water. So that's good advice.
Yeah.
So you heard it here, folks. Brand new student about to finish out his certification tomorrow, recommending scuba diving, believe it or not, in Del Rio, Texas.
In Del Rio. That's what I didn't realize. Like I've told you before, we live in little old Del Rio. What's here? We just barely got a Taco Bell again, right? So, I mean, like, who would have thought
Which
that...
I'm seriously loving.
Yeah.
Seriously loving.
So who would have thought that scuba diving was accessible here, like in such an easy form? I mean, like all you do is make a phone call and
drive out there, and there you go.
And there you go. I didn't actually realize this until my girlfriend was like, "Hey, I like to do scuba diving." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Scuba diving? What? Here?"
Yeah, and she's actually like a natural in the water. She
says she loves it. She says it's like a good place for her, and she really loves scuba diving. That's what got me interested, because if she likes doing it, of course I got to make her happy. So I'm like, okay, I'll go with you.
And funny you mentioned Sarah, and Sarah, if you're watching, hello.
She should be.
One of the things that I noticed that I had seen in pictures before, was going back to the gear, is she actually bought the Oceanic BC. She's got an Oceanic.
Yes.
And I'd seen it in on the internet and stuff, but I never seen it in a dive shop. We went out on a boat dive, and I looked at it, and I remember, I don't know if she remembers, but I was like, is that yours? She was like, yeah. I said, when did you get it? She goes, I just got it. And I was, can I take a look at it? She goes, absolutely. I was looking at the construction of it, and it's awesome. If you see something on the internet, on pictures or whatever, sometimes they don't do it justice, because this was a perfect case of this. I mean, it was a nice BC and on pictures and everything, but when you see it firsthand, it's an awesome BC. The releases, I like the releases. They're like little latches. You kind of just pull them out and
right.
And it was a really nice BC. So that's one of the things, if you're on the internet and you're going to be researching gear or whatever it may be, sometimes the pictures just don't do it justice. See if you can actually find someone or go somewhere to actually see it firsthand. And it makes all the difference, really it does.
Yep. Dive shops are a good way, especially if they cover a number of brands and have a number of the different models. Dive shops are certainly a good way to go try on gear, and which I strongly recommend.
Yeah, me too.
But I'll be honest with you, and I know anybody who runs a dive shop is probably going to hate me for this, but they're trying to sell you their gear for the most part. There are some that they're out for customer service, and so like some insurance companies, they have no problem saying, okay, we've got all this and we'd love for you to buy this, but if you're looking for this feature, you're going to find it in this model or this make, and we don't sell that, but this place sells it. If they're really about customer service, they'll help you that way, because that would draw me back to them if they do that. But you're almost always going to get a little bit more objective or less biased opinion just asking other divers, which is another one of the reasons why we're trying to build up the dive club, is to share those kind of experiences. Well, what do you dive with, and what do you like about it? What don't you like about it? I mentioned the issue about the Modis
The hand warmers.
Yeah, the hand warmers. Oh, you know what? I didn't even finish that story.
Oh.
We digressed so bad.
Yeah, did
I
I
didn't finish that
sidetrack you on
story.
that?
Yeah.
I did actually. I mentioned the hand warmer.
Yeah. I ordered the replacement. Well, I'm used to sites where you buy them a replacement pouch one at a time, because usually if you lose a weight pouch, you just lose the one. Okay? So I ordered 2, and they were $30 a piece, which is about typical. So I ordered 2. Well, and they were on back order and back order and back order. Well, they finally arrived yesterday. Open the box. There's 2 sets of 2. So I now have 4 pouches. So I have plenty of spares. I can lose them all day.
Yeah, that's kind of weird, because when I remember I bought some backups for mine. And yeah, when I got them, actually Lana was the one who ordered them for me. She goes, yeah, it's I think it was $15. And I thought, okay, well, there must be one, right? And she goes, no, there's 2 in the pack. And I thought, oh, so it's a set. She goes, yeah, it's a set for $15. So I was like, okay, sure, with an order. Sure enough, it came in, and there they were.
Wow.
It was both of them.
And by the way, the larger pouches work great. I had no issues. I had no outies, no pocket warmers. It was great.
Well, we got to overweight them babies and see if they flip out on there.
There is just no way those things practically touch each other behind the back.
Oh, they're that long.
They're pretty long. And I was like, yeah, baby. So I'm a happy camper. So I'm really pleased now. Now they complete the ensemble.
There you go.
So I'm a happy camper. Okay, do you have any other news you want to share or anything like that?
No, Nick. I'm just glad that you joined the show. I recommend, or I actually invite anybody who else that's out there diving who's in the neighborhood. Please come on, stop in. I'm sure you can talk to Nick, and he'll tell you that we're
wild and crazy.
Yeah, it's actually a little different here in the studio than it actually what you guys are seeing there.
Yeah, we're not singing Can't Smile Without You.
No, that's only on a night dive, which should be coming up here real soon.
Yeah. But and you can always check us out, visit us, or comment, or question, or just join us at our Facebook page. Just go out and look for Del Rio Dive Club, or certainly delriodiveclub.com. And, of course, every week here on Ustream TV, or you can download our podcast from YouTube. Just look for 2 Guys Who Dive, and you'll find us there. So
whatever happened with that other site?
Vimeo. I'm still throwing stuff up there. It's just such a pain because of for those who watched last week's podcast, it was the whole thing about you cannot upload a high def podcast any more than once a week to the minute. So I have to be very careful when I upload it so I don't get the little nasty gram from Vimeo. Get your act together there, guys. Come on. YouTube's got it all over you. So, well, without any further ado, that completes another episode of 2 Guys Who Dive. We'll see you next week. Don't anticipate any issues, so we should be at our regular time. We thought we might be off our mark this week, but we were able to get done with the training early enough, so we were right on time. So we will see you next week, and thanks for visiting us on another episode of 2 Guys Who Dive.